Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another scintillating uh, episode of the Cult of Cantona, which will, in the words of another influencer, blow the jocks off you. Thanks a million for joining us on YouTube again. I'm joined tonight by Dec McDonough and Iman Jeffrey to break down and analyse, I suppose, the last week in the world of Manchester United. Do subscribe and share on YouTube and Spotify. You can see both video on Spotify and also on our YouTube channels. And you can support us by sharing the show with someone, whether it be from YouTube or subscribing on the channel, or if you're feeling extra specially generous, you can buy us a coffee on buymeacoffee.com/cult of Cantona. How we doing?
Good. All good, man. Good. We had the low of Liverpool, the high of Southampton, the life of a Man United fan.
Yeah, tell me about it. I was. It's great to get back to winning ways, and just to, as I had said in the prediction videos that we do weekly, I was very worried for Eric for that match. I really felt that, the hatchet would be out if we lost that match, even by an odd goal here and there, or even if we drew. I really felt as if the pressure was going to be really, really on him. And then I felt with FC20 coming up as well, I thought that might have been enough if he lost that match, or if there was a bad result there, that he might have got the bullet. So it's great to get 3 points and a good solid performance. Not by no means perfect, but a good solid performance.
Yeah, I was nervous going into it, and then I was nervous for the first 20 minutes because I think Southampton kind of dominated the game for the first 20 minutes up until the penalty. And big credit to Andre Onana for saving that. Really changed the tide of the game, I think, because up until then we were second best. And then the goal 5 minutes later really changed the game.
Yeah, the save by Onana was massive. Southampton did have us a bit on the ropes, but it just goes to show United, when they click, and they definitely did after Onana's save, they came into the game more, they started passing the ball around better, and to get the 2 goals before half-time was massive. And I was delighted with the 3-0 win because I'd said that that's what we were going to get before the game, so delighted.
Yeah, we've christened you Mystic Deck. Well, I did, taking the piss. And do you want to tell the story, Decker, what happened when you went over for a pint the other night?
Like I went into. I was actually getting a Chinese there last night and walked into the local pub, and a few of the lads started shouting "Mystic Deck" at me, and I was there. I mean, the amount of messages I've got, people looking for 6 lotto numbers and all this crap. I mean, they're just jumping on the bandwagon now, slagging me. So I've gone for 4-0 tomorrow, so hopefully that'll come through as well.
Yeah, they call him the Keith Barry of the Wild Atlantic Way. So a couple of things to kind of break down, I suppose, not just from that match, but just about just what's been happening in the world of Man United over the last week. Ugarte finally got a run out. How do we feel about him?
Nice and tidy. Didn't do anything wrong. Didn't do anything amazing. Got out there. I think he completed all his passes, won all his deals. Nice 20-minute cameo. You can't really ask for anything more. It's really happy.
Yeah, I think he'll get a run out now tomorrow night. I think Eric, whether it's in the Carabao Cup or not, he's probably going to try play his best team. So I'd expect to see Ugarte get a bit longer now tomorrow night. And interesting. I think he's a fine, tidy player. And looking forward to seeing him test himself against the so-called bigger teams.
Yeah, for those of you watching, if you've seen Deck speak without his lips moving at the same time, he's not actually being operated by a ventriloquist. It's just the internet. As long as you can hear him. I agree about Ugarte. I just think he needs someone to do things with a minimum of trust. Tidy up, back that, pick up after the back ball, forward, keep that, wasn't he a great boy? You know, instead of just constantly worrying about fucking Casemiro. Like I had a mini stroke when I saw Casemiro fucking coming on the other day. Just looking at him, you know, going, we don't need this fella. Like, why hasn't he moved on? Thanks very much for your service, but like, you know, he's the salesman in the telemarketing company who was top of the board, you know, and you know now he can't shift a fucking Nissan Micra from 1997. It's just like, thanks very much. It's time to go. I must say, it's great to see Marcus off the mark. I'm delighted to see him score. I'm delighted to see him play with a little bit more confidence, and I hope he kicks on from that. I really am. But most importantly, I hope he really repays Eric Ten Hag's confidence in him.
Yeah. There was a shocking stat that was his first United goal in 189 days, which is completely crazy.
Well, it's criminal for a forward to have a record like that. I mean, that's ridiculous.
I mean, you look at League of Ireland statistics, you look at, you know, championship statistics, you look at any league up and down the UK or Ireland or in Europe. If someone is playing that badly, they'll be dropped. So what is going on there behind the scenes? I am delighted to see him hit the back of the net, but he needs to kick on. And look, let's be realistic about the couple of games that we have coming up. We've quite a heavy fixture list between now and the next international break. We should be scoring heavily in a lot of these matches.
Agreed.
I hope so. Hopefully it doesn't take too much of a toll on the squad. I mean, they're dropping like flies already, and you just kind of have to say a prayer that they'll come through it healthy. You know, we'll need all of them going forward.
Yeah. I mean, it's good to see Onana, although, you know, there's still a bit of when the ball gets rolled back to him a couple of times for me anyway, watching him. And, you know, I've no doubt that he will make a couple of errors as the season goes on, just by virtue of the way that we're playing. He'll get caught with the ball or lobbed or something, you know. But there's a lot of positives there. I was delighted to see Delict score. I was delighted to see him play well, particularly because I was concerned that based on his performance in the international break where he got subbed at half time, I was a bit concerned that might bleed into his club football. So I'm delighted to see him play well and get that goal as well. It'll do his confidence the world of good. But more specifically, I have to say I was very, very impressed with Xerxes. And not because he did like not. I'm starting to see his role now, and I'm starting to understand what he does and why he does it, why he was brought in. He seems to just connect the dots really well. The interplay between the front three and four is a bit sharper, or it was at least in the second half. Once we got into gear, now this shit about taking ages to get into a game has to stop, because as we've learned from the Liverpool game, and as we will learn when we play City and a lot of the big guns as time progresses, they will score 2 and 3 against us, and we won't have time to play catch up. But there's a lot of positives there. I wouldn't say in any way things are clicking, but it was great to see Garnacho go on, get on and play reasonably well, despite the fact that obviously he was a bit jet lagged or something was up if he didn't start. And Ahmad, I think, played a 7 out of 10 game, I would say, as well. So it's great to see that kid getting a run.
Ahmad had a great game, I thought. He's definitely our most attacking player at the moment, and he's only going to grow with each performance and each game that he gets under his belt. I think he's going to have a massive season for us.
Yeah, I agree.
I agree. Xerxes had a good game, but if I'm being overly critical, I'd say like he should have had at least 1, if not 2 goals, and chances that he should be putting away if he's supposed to be a Man United number 9. Now, everything else he did was really, really good, but if we're dependent on him to lead that front line, he's going to have to put some of these chances away. But new league, getting up to speed with the new system. you can give him a little bit of leeway, but I think, for him to become what we need, he needs to be putting those chances away.
Agreed. I just don't think he's that player that we clearly we're really missing Highland, which is not the type of player that he's supposed to be anyway. So we're talking about him like Alan Shearer is out injured, or a Van Nistelrooy. I think that the biggest mistake that we've made in the last couple of years is not signing an out and out striker. A Cole or a York or a Solskjaer or a Sheringham to come in, and it's very naive to not have someone in there who's like for like.
We should have got Harry Kane. That's who we needed. There's no way that man should be rotting away with. I wouldn't say rotting away, but he's over in Germany, somehow making Bayern Munich not win a trophy. But I mean, he's the type of fella. He's the type of fella who's going to get 30 goals a season. That's the type of player we're missing.
Yeah, he's over there having a very Spursy type time over there, isn't he, with Bayern Munich?
He might actually be hurt.
He's actually allergic to trophies. I mean,
yeah, he must have that thing with saying, with some people can't wear wristwatches because of the metal, and he gets rashes and stuff. I've always liked Harry Kane. I was watching a documentary on him on Sky Sports over the weekend, and he's just the absolute polar opposite in terms of career trajectory of Marcus Rashford. Like, everyone had doubts about Harry Kane right into his kind of 22nd and 23rd year. He was going out, like in 2012 and 2013, he was out on loan, I think, to two clubs, Norwich, and then he was bouncing around. And they weren't sure about him. And then he came good. So I think we could have, if that man touches the ball, it hits the back of the net. He has that, and he's a proper football player. He's a great footballer in and around the box. And the thing about Harry Kane, which I've always liked about him, is his assists are right up there with his goals.
Yeah.
So we could have absolutely just imagine where we might have been. I think we might have been challenging if Harry Kane was in the squad, because it would have given us all a lift instead of talking about Bruno saving us week in, week out, which is what we did all last season.
Harry Kane would have been another RVP signing for us, I believe. But we would have got a few years out, and he would have been phenomenal. I think.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, because he was in Dublin during the week for a huge event in the Helix in Dublin, and
you got to meet him.
I was invited along, very last minute, so I was very excited to go. And I did get to meet him, and he was very, very, very nice, albeit briefly. But just to talk about his career, looking back on it, I mean, I remember, Iman, you can make a cup of tea for a couple of minutes when I talk about 1996. But I remember how disappointed I was that we didn't sign Alan Shearer. I was away on my holidays. I was a teenager, and I remember buying the Sunday World, and there was a mock-up of Shearer in the United kit in the Sunday World, and I bought the paper and brought it home, and I cut it out and I stuck it to the fridge where we were staying. And then when I heard a couple of days later that we signed Solskjaer, I was fucking disgusted for about 2 days. And it took me, and I have to, if I'm being completely transparent about it, it took me maybe half the season to warm to him at all. But what a career after that, and what a servant. I mean, despite he's the very epitome of a super sub, and just such a good attitude. And I have to say, the other night, he was just so incredibly warm, just really lovely and warm with everyone. No airs or graces, no get away from me vibes, none of that type of stuff. Just an absolute out and out gentleman who really understands what it means. To play for Man United, but also to manage them. Despite the fact that it all went a bit tits up at the end when he was managing United, let's be honest. But I have nothing but complete admiration for him for the video that he did when he was leaving, because it's unprecedented. Managers don't do that because it usually ends on a sour note. And to see him get emotional, And the fact that he could have left 2 or 3 times and got regular football but stayed, I think says a lot about what type of person he is. And he is someone I think that, you'd have a pint with and have a laugh.
Yeah. I don't think there's any United fan on earth that has a shred of animosity towards him. He's probably the most universally loved player to ever and manager to ever come into this football club. And I think just the career he had and everything he did for the club and all the things he won and brought us out of the kind of the post Jose depression era. Yeah, just nothing but love for the man.
Even the chant that they had going from at Old Trafford, I remember singing that for 40 minutes straight one day. The Stretford end was bouncing, singing the Ole chant. I wanted him to succeed as a manager so much because of the career he had as a player for us, and his love for United comes across as well, and I think that's what endears him to the fans still to this day.
Yeah, well, I think what's really interesting about him as well is quite literally he was playing. I think he only played a handful of games for Molde, and he went from when he was in his early 20s, in the space of 3 or 4 months, went from starting a few. He had scored lots of goals at underage level and in his first season in professional football, but he went from that straight into the Premier League within a couple of months and hit the ground running scorer, which is amazing to think, that a player, and he's not a big guy as well. He's only about 5'9" or 5'10" as well. I was a bit surprised to see that because the Premiership is so physical, and he also, flirted with Spurs and turned them down, which always gives me a bit of a giggle, that they would have put all their eggs in that basket, and I think he would have done very well there, but. And he tells a very interesting story, or he did at the event, where, how Ferguson kept him there. And this, I think, is testament to kind of Fergie's man management. Ferguson brought him in and he'd heard about the interest in Spurs, and he said, look, it's like this. I want you at this club. I need you at this club. You will play football. You won't start every week, but you will start. I promise you. I swear to you. And then Solskjaer said, okay, no worries, that sounds good. And he went, but if you tell anyone out there in the dressing room, I'm going to fucking kill you. Which is, so indicative of a kind of a good father or a mentor, just being able to say the right thing at the right time to get him to stay, and then he turned Spurs down. It's an incredible player. He's an incredible player, and despite the fact that he didn't score a shit ton of goals, I'll never forget when we beat Forest. We hammered Forest in '98, I think it was, wasn't it? I was 8-1, sorry, yeah, against Forest, and he scored 4 in that game, and that was at a time when. This says a lot about his character, where Cole and York were playing incredibly well that season. And he was coming off the bench. He came off the bench in that game and scored 4 goals, just to remind Ferguson and everyone else that he can do a job. And that says a lot. And a lot of the players in today's squad, or even Sancho, not that he's ever going to see this, could take a leaf out of that book, that if you're not in the squad and you're not in favour, you have to show them what they're missing. Be so good that they can't ignore you, and that's what I think he's absolutely unbelievably talented at over the years. He would talk with his feet and with his talent. An incredible boy, and we bought him for pittance.
I remember when he took that red card, was it against Newcastle?
Last man back, and he lumped him out of it. Yeah,
that just soared into the air and took your man out of it and started walking off because he knew he was getting the red card. I mean, that's what you want. I thought it was so brilliant. I mean, what a player for United. Just phenomenal.
Yeah, not bad for a Liverpool fan. And by his own admission, he is a Liverpool fan, or he was growing up. But you know the way these things go. I mean, like Jamie Carragher, by his own admission, was massive Everton fan growing up, but and even like Carragher tells the story about sorry to the United fans listening, about how even when he was in the reserves for Liverpool, his dad was in the crowd feeding him the results from the Everton match at the same time. But then you grow to love the club and you get to know them and the traditions and everything else. I suppose we'd all be swayed if we're in the same boat, I guess. But then again, having said that, a friend of mine, Andy, her husband, was in the youth teams that were playing for Liverpool in '96, and he was brought in the travelling party of '96 to the FA Cup final, and he celebrated when Cantona scored wearing all the Liverpool kit. All the Liverpool tracksuits and stuff on the bench. So, they had an incel kind of in our group, and we had one of theirs, but Erwin won us the European Cup, which is great.
Slight difference.
But yeah, so look, how are we feeling in general about, I suppose, about the transfers in general? I mean, what seems to be working? I know it's very early days, but what seems to be working? What's not quite clicking yet?
You were giving praise to a lot of the new signings there earlier, but you seem to miss out who I think who's probably been the best signing of the summer so far, which is Mazraoui, who have been. Yes. I think we've all agreed we've been really, really impressed with. Really super intelligent player. He probably came in like to the least fanfare, the lowest fee, just a right back. Probably didn't know much about him, and he didn't get as much hype or attention as the other deals did. And he was thrown straight into the deep end, and he's come out with flying colours. And I think you can just see the intelligence in his play. The angles of his runs, the passes, his positioning. It's so nice to have a right back who's not out of position all the time. Just been really impressed with him.
Absolutely. I think the key word there that you mentioned was he's so smart. He's an intelligent footballer. And I think what he brings, and absolutely, he's absolutely shown. I hope he's not out for too long now because it's looking like he was injured. But
no, Ten Hag came out this evening and said that Mazraoui, Delit, and the lads are available. I saw that online there. So
fantastic.
It's just been a little niggle.
Oh, thank God for that. Oh, Jesus.
It looked like a dead leg, like after when he was putting ice on it. It did look like a dead leg, but that was just me being positive, I guess.
Yeah, we were, in fairness, shouting at the top. Like as you know, we have the WhatsApp group, listeners as well. We have a WhatsApp group which is kind of continually rolling, and we're always commenting on what's happening as in real time. And one thing that bugged me about that match is just why he can't, and this is what bugs me. Ten Hag talks about rotation, and players coming in, and that's what you need to win a championship is people coming in and out and whatever else. And I know it's early in the season, and he's probably a bit paranoid about his back four becoming injured and being fucked again. But why? Like Bruno will play through an injury and stays on, and then plays full games, 90% of the season. And I get it. Players get niggles and they have to come off. But why did the whole back four have to come off? We got away with it at the weekend. But why? Can he stop making what seems to me just absolute fucking lunatic-esque substitutions? It doesn't make sense to me.
They seem precautionary to injuries, I think. Is there any update on Martinez's injury? I don't think.
I think he's fine.
Okay. Yeah, I think Martinez is fine as well. Yeah, I'm just reading the
so they were all precautionary then.
Yeah.
Which I guess were we 3-0 up? Oh no, 2-0 up by then, and Southampton didn't really look threatening at all. So you can kind of get away with it, but I think we substituted centre halves in every game of the season so far, which just is not a really solid base to be building any sort of game plan or season on. And he does have a weird obsession with changing the centre halves mid game. So we'll see where it goes, but it's hopefully these were just precautionary and everyone's all right.
look, let's be honest and go that we need a centre forward. Is there anyone that kind of piques your interest that you know we could be bringing in as backup for
Ivan
Hoyle?
Toney would have been perfect.
Yeah,
Ivan Toney would have been my first choice, but he's gone off to Saudi Arabia now and, phoned it in for the rest of his life. But
what
what
a
can you
fucking
do?
bizarre, selfish transfer. Indicative, I think, of the man's character, particularly in and around the gambling escapade in the past. Like,
Hmm.
who would choose the Saudi League over the Premier League? Surely one of the top 4 or 5 teams in the Premier League wanted Ivan Toney. Surely,
Yeah.
You would
doesn't
have
make
thought
sense.
so. Yeah, he's Premier League proven, but as you say, he showed his true colours by heading for the cash. I mean, that's what
Doesn't make
motivates
sense
him.
to me. And I know, look, let's be honest. I mean, it's a person's obligation in their life to provide for their family and to do well. I absolutely understand that. I do, but you're looking at that and you're going like, I mean, Koeman came out and he said, didn't he criticize one of the players for going to Saudi, and he said he couldn't promise them that they'd get in the starting lineup for the Dutch squad. Um, was it Koeman? But anyway, the point I'm trying to make is, man,
Yeah, it was Uruguay, I think.
yeah. So like, managers view it that way. So I think it's a very like here's a man who's actually in the English squad, making a very risky move and a very kind of entitled switch to a club where he thinks he's automatically going to be in the England squad, which is already incredibly competitive. So for me, that's just like unless he's very sure that Carsley is going to involve him in the squads, I don't know. But it just seems absolute lunacy to me. For me, I think that we
Uh,
really
there's
could have
better
done.
there's better options for the centre forward position there.
Yeah, but he was there or thereabouts, and he was coming on, in the latter stages in games. So I don't know what he's doing. Again, everything about that stinks, and not because like I'm not being too hard on the league necessarily. It's more the country I have a problem with in general. But and we've had this discussion before about the Qatari World Cup and trying to be on the right side of history, etc. And our views about these things, and we've spoke about other things as well about trying to make a good moral stance, particularly in and around female rights, etc. But I think that we missed out as well on Osherman. I think we should have brought Osherman in. Just by virtue of the fact that we need someone very like him.
Yeah, exactly. I was a bit
Osimhen to
surprised because
Galatasaray is perhaps the weirdest. Sorry, go ahead, Dick.
no, I was literally going to say, and like this transfer window has probably been our most successful one for the last like 5 6 years. But I think Ineos definitely missed a beat by not getting us a centre forward because it is an area like we're already on 0 goal difference. So I mean, if we can identify that as a weakness, how come they didn't address it in this transfer window? Maybe they will in January. I don't know, but I mean, Fergie was never a fan of getting too many players in January. So I was a bit surprised and perplexed that they didn't actually strengthen the centre forward position.
Like I don't know, maybe he was too. He was maybe he knew something we didn't, or was expecting Ethan Wheatley to come in, or or I just think that it's telling. I think the biggest, and I hope I'm proved wrong about this, but I think that you know a Darren Fletcher type player that I think that we had in Scott McTominay. Like Scott McTominay can't stop scoring. Why do you take a player who will come off the bench and score you a winner like he's done? How many times last season? He scored what, 12 goals, something like that for United last season. Why would you hold on to Casemiro and sell a McTominay over him? Like even
I think it was
McTominay
purely
scored.
PSR reasons.
I'd say it was PSR and the fact no one wanted Casemiro. I mean, if the Saudi league isn't taking it, that's kind of says a lot about it.
Yeah. No, I am enthused by the fact that we do have buyback deals on some of the players, which is good that we've let go. How do we feel about the idea of Angel Gomez coming back, which has been touted?
He's playing very well at the moment, and I think I wouldn't be surprised to see him back at United in the future.
I have
I
never,
think
I have never seen him play since he left, so I have no idea. But I've read that he's doing really well.
No, he's
and then
tearing
he
up
come
League
back to
One
it
with
again.
Lille. He's playing incredibly well.
Yeah,
But this, you know, it's the same conversation that we've had many times last season, talking about United and the weight of the club. How is it that Sancho can come back into our squad, you know, and just not seem like the player he is when he's somewhere else? He got man of the match at Chelsea at the weekend.
That was a load of shit by Sky Sports, just trying to draw a bit
yeah.
of business. I mean, there was no way he was man of the match. I mean, that was just a bit of
I thought he was
shithousery
pretty
by,
average.
yeah, that was
They,
just
no, they
shithousery
gave him that.
by
They gave
Sky
him
Sports.
winding up United fans again. But he did, you know, in fairness, he did have one assist for the goal. Still, I don't know what gets you a man of the match anymore, I guess. Um, what about Ronaldo, shithouse, and Eric Ten Hag? Again,
Well, we always knew Ronaldo was never going to stay silent, and I mean, if anyone's earned the right to talk shit, probably is the world's top goal scorer. You know, in my mind,
Mm.
Ronaldo. Um, he's always going to have an opinion. He didn't like getting ran out of United, and that's basically what happened to him. The power struggle between himself and Ten Hag, and for once, Ronaldo lost out, so he's always going to have probably an issue with Eric, I'd be thinking.
yeah. But like dragging Ruud van Nistelrooy into it, of course, which he doesn't exactly have the most wonderful of relationships with, is a
No,
bit
no.
interesting. You know, he knows well that mentioning his name in any capacity like that will cause problems, or he's thrown a grenade into the backroom squad. You know,
Yeah.
Mm.
um, a weird one to be sure. Now I watched the whole interview, and I did feel as if it just doesn't make sense that he's saying that he loves the club. Because if I love the club, I'd go on the bench. You know, stay at the club and play for the club that I love. Um, you know, and I take a pay cut to play for the club that I love. But I do have a sneaky suspicion that we will see Ronaldo back at the club in some capacity in the long term. I think he'll end up, if he does go into management, will end up managing United or involved in some capacity down the road, I think. I'm just going to throw this out here as theoretically, and just let me know what both of you think about this individually, right? Let's say, right, Eric Ten Hag gets the bullet in the near future. In the near future, I don't want him to. I'd like to see how he does at the end of the season. I'd like to see a good run in the Europa League, and like I said, I'd like to see that cup being won, and I'd like to see a Champions League spot for next season. But theoretically, if he does get the bullet, do we think that Ruud van Nistelrooy would do a good job at Man United?
Um,
Hard to say.
yeah,
um,
managing Manchester United is bigger than most people realise, and I think that's why people have struggled after Fergie. They've come in with certain ideas, but Manchester United is a different beast compared to 99% of the other clubs in the world. Would we want Ruud to do well? Of course we would. If he ever gets the chance. I don't know, will he? I think Eric is definitely going to be there to the end of the season anyway. I thought when Ruud came in that Ineos had him in there just in case they wanted him to take over from Eric as well. So Ruud is probably in there learning on the job as we speak. Would he be able to do it? I don't know. Managing United is a totally different beast to managing PSV or any of the other clubs in the Everbeast.
Yeah,
yeah,
I
there's a
mean,
difference between taking a club forward and kind of just, you know, taking over for a bit. You just see it like when Ollie came in, the same thing, you know, when things are going bad under a manager, the team is performing well under what it should be. And sometimes when you relieve that pressure, you just kind of take it back up to where, you know, kind of close to where it should be.
mhm.
That's probably what you call the big new manager bounce, you know. But then the next step is to actually move forward from that. And I think we saw with Ollie that he wasn't able to do that. And the same questions would be with Rude. You know, he hasn't had much experience at a club like this, and many managers with a lot more experience have failed taking that club forward. So it's
Mm-hmm.
very different, I guess, taking over temporarily and being a permanent boss.
Yeah, I mean, if we look at, we've had what, 2 or 3 temp three temp bosses, and I think Giggs and Carrick, I think, have a good account of themselves. But it is a big, absolutely, I agree, is a bigger, and then Ragnek, yeah, that's a discussion, that's a whole episode sometime. But it's a bigger beast, although there's this huge sentimental part of me that would love to see Keane back in there. And I think that'll only happen in a very Braveheart-esque scenario where the king is dead, and then Fergie passes away, and then Keane is ceremoniously brought back in to fucking take over like Robert de Bruce. I mean, that's the only I don't. The job is too big for Keane. But I do think that if he was in a backroom team, I think, and look, a lot of people go, he's a bully, he's this, he's that. I do think that he would be like a Keane to, second in command to Van Nistelrooy. I think would be a very interesting prospect. Okay, just to wrap up, let's just have a quick look at some of the fixtures that are coming up. Obviously, we've. This may go out before or after the Barnsley game, I don't know yet, but we're looking at what looks like on paper not a great deal of difficult matches, 1 or 2 maybe particularly banana skin-esque matches away at Palace. Palace made a show of us last season. FC20, which I believe is only £50 to get tickets for on the 25th. So keep an eye out, guys. Look around the travel companies and stuff. They're doing tickets for only like 50 quid. So it's a good excuse to get over and see. Play a very decent team, in fairness. They're not by no means a bad Eredivisie team. How do we feel about the new structure of the Europa League? Is it a waste of time? Is it ruining the fans' experience of the home and away thing? How do we feel about that?
I'm excited to see how it goes. The same with the Champions League, I'm excited to see how the new format plays out, just because it's going to give a lot more variety into the group stages, in quotation marks, and kind of makes every game urgent, because any team could beat any team, and hopefully you get rid of these kind of useless matches towards the end of the group stages when some teams are already through, and just make for a more competitive environment, I think. Yeah,
and like nothing beats seeing United play Bodo Glimt
of
a fictional country in the
Middle
East.
It's what we've always dreamed of, when we were growing up as young lads in Ireland. This was the team we always wanted to play.
Oh, like it's every child's Ryder Rovers fantasy to score a winner against Bodo Glimt at the Stretford end. But again, indicative of the bed that we've made for ourselves and having to lie in it. I'm just a bit disappointed that you won't get to the home and away of some of those matches, It would have been nice, some of those trips. So yeah, guys, if you enjoyed the show, please get involved. Share it with a friend. You can subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, and wherever you get your podcasts. We have a Facebook group as well for our chats, where you can take your discussions from these podcasts into the group and have a chat. And you can use bad language, and we won't throw you out of the group. Also, if you want to support the podcast further, get us a coffee on buymeacoffee.com/Cult of Cantona. And when we see you out and about, we shall repay the favour. And that happens a lot. And we don't mind doing that. We get your point or whatever. Equally, keep an eye on what we're doing as time progresses. We're going to be doing giveaways for various different bits and pieces, matches, memorabilia, jerseys, all of those type of things. And we have some very interesting chats coming up over the next couple of weeks and months with some really, really interesting people, including people that are associated with the club in the recent past. But for this evening, thanks so much. As always, Mystic Deck himself, Mr. Deck McDonough. Iman Jaffrey, of course, is just back from a long trip and made some time to have a chat with us. So thanks a million. And yeah, keep supporting the show, and glory Manchester United.
Cheers, Rez.
Thank you, gents.